Cool. So we should be live out there on YouTube. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah, Gus, it has been, I was looking at it. It's been since, I think, December since we last live streamed.
I know. Yeah, it's been a long time, but a lot of stuff for me, like not a whole lot has changed. As you know, I work from home, so with this whole pandemic thing, I like nothing really changed, but a lot has changed for you, right? Over the last few months. So
Dude,
I'm excited to catch up.
yeah, it'll be good. Yeah, the pandemic has certainly changed a lot of that.
Yeah.
Made it a little bit harder than we expected, but well, cool. So, welcome to Biz Apps After Dark, Business Apps After Dark. This is really an opportunity for Gus and I just to catch up and talk about sort of what's going on in our lives and what's going on in business and who knows what. Last time Gus brought a knife to the stream, um,
That's right.
so I'm not going to say that's why it's been so long, but I mean,
Yeah. I
that was
mean, last time this is the first one we do as both being MVPs, so that's
that's
that's a
true.
that's a first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if we need to
Awesome.
rebrand or something like that, but yeah. But we can officially stream to the MVP or CRM MVP
Yeah,
media or whatever.
for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. We should.
But well, cool. Yeah, just with the intros, if you're of age and wanted to partake in a drink after hours, you're welcome to do that. I also know that in Australia, I think that may be where our largest viewership is, and it may be a little early right now for that, but it is the weekend out there. So,
Yeah,
but
should be
cool.
Saturday afternoon for those guys, I
Yeah.
guess. Like 3:30 p.m., something like that, 2:30 p.m. maybe.
Oh, perfect timing then.
I don't know. Yeah,
But cool. So what's going on with you, man?
not much. Like I said, still doing my thing, still working from home. Nothing really has changed. Um, in terms of business, I had projects ongoing and I
Hmm.
work remotely. So it has the only thing that has changed is that I really, really enjoy doing the training in person. So whenever
Yeah.
I can, let's put the team together and let's train in person. I think it's better to do it. So we have a few projects going live where we've had to shift to online or videos or whatever virtual training, but other than that, I mean, the work is still going. But how about you, man? I feel like you are the one that has all the exciting news
Yeah.
going on.
Um, so let's see. So we hit the holidays, and then January came, and we found an opportunity to purchase a house, and hence the new background that you see here.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so that was super quick. It was we found out about it in January, and we signed the papers in the middle of March, and then moved in at the end of March. And so that was the plan. It was going to be like this beautiful thing and make it super simple. Lease was done at our other place at the end of April. So we'll have like a whole month and a half to get it in, moved in, settled in, all that kind of good stuff. The house needed a
Yeah.
little work. But it was like, hey, we got time and we know people that can come over, help us paint, help us move, all that kind of awesome stuff. Um, and just because we like to make things difficult on ourselves, we said we should have a kid. So
Yeah,
during sort of
exactly.
that first quarter, we also had a kid. And so um, add on top of that a pandemic. And so we were all of a sudden in the middle of trying to move with a newborn baby. All the people that we thought could help us move and help us paint and help us get the house ready couldn't come. We had family planning to come out to see the new baby and to help with
Right.
all the stuff that needed to be done, and that didn't happen. So it's been a little bit slow. You can kind of see over here the paint spot that needs to still be hit. We painted the rest of the room and
For sure.
knocked the door handle, but yeah, so it's been just a busy month, and on top of that, received the MVP award, like you mentioned at the beginning of March.
That's awesome.
So that was an exciting sort of 24 hours in and around there.
I know
So
because the baby was born like on the same day or like the day after or something. It was like
yeah,
very, very close, right?
yeah, it was very close to that, and it was something that it'll definitely be 24, 48 hours that is hard to forget. And so it was an exciting sort of to
For
find out and get that email and to have a kid and to have all that going on. And then you get so focused on sort of that, and then all of a sudden you like occasionally you'll listen to the news when you have a kid because occasionally you're up. Well, you're up a lot. Just depends if you're paying attention to anything,
Right.
and can understand what's going on. And then while I was out on paternity leave, a pandemic, I mean the COVID-19 stuff happened, and so all of a sudden everybody's working from home. People are closing the office, and I'm like, I haven't been into the office in months now,
Months.
and it's
Right.
just crazy. And so it was kind of crazy coming back. Like when you're in, when you go on paternity leave, you kind of know what you're coming back to, right? I'm gonna have projects that are gonna be ramping up. I'm gonna need to do this. I need to do that. But coming back to this, it was like I don't know what to wear to work. Like, are people like wearing t-shirts? Are they shaving? Like how
Yeah.
does this look? And so the first meeting I had, everybody was in t-shirts. All the guys had like a goatee going on because they were like already a month into quarantine almost, and it was just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Everybody checked out.
yeah, it was cool.
That's awesome. For
Yeah.
me, it was actually the opposite. So you had a very, very eventful like last few months. For
Yeah.
me, it was the opposite. So late last year, I decided to like take it really seriously with diving. As you know, I'm a diver. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's one of my hobbies. So I decided to take it super seriously. So I bought a rebreather, which I've been thinking about for a long time. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with rebreathers, it's essentially like strapping a submarine to your back. So there's no bubbles. There's no air going on. So it's this device that you put in your back and you breathe into it. It cleans off all the CO2 and then it feeds you back the same air that you breath out, but like you can breathe it again. So you're essentially
That's
breathing the
crazy.
same breath over and over and over and over. So anyway, it's pretty awesome. But then, when you dive with a tank, you get like an hour dive, 45 minutes, depending on the depth and how much you breathe. But with a rebreather, you can go for like 6 hours. So that's the advantage of it. Plus, because there's no bubbles, marine life comes really, really close to you.
Whoa, dude.
So anyway, so I decided to take it seriously. I booked a bunch of diving trips too.
Yeah.
I had a dive trip like every like 6 weeks, pretty much, and some of them pretty epic. So I had a trip to Grand Cayman, to the
Yeah.
Cayman Islands for an event called Inner Space, which is a week of rebreather diving. They don't take any regular divers, just rebreather divers. So that one got canceled. That was in May. And then the first week of June, I was supposed to go to Egypt, and that was going to be just diving in the Red Sea, which I've been looking for because one of the things on my diving bucket list, is to dive in every continent,
Yeah.
including Antarctica. Like I want to go every continent. So Egypt was going to be my African,
Yeah.
out of the checklist. So I have only Asia, North America, and Europe so far. So I want to get Africa and Australia done, and then hopefully South America and Antarctica after that. So that trip got canceled. Egypt got canceled. Then after that, I think we had a trip to Mexico or something like that. I think that's gonna get canceled. So
Yeah.
like every trip is pretty much canceled. We had a family vacation for spring break. That one got canceled to Florida,
Yeah.
and now we have moved that vacation to October, and I don't know, the way things are going, we might cancel it again. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. So everything has been, backwards. I had all of these events planned, all of this stuff happening, and yeah, everything got canceled. But there's people out there without jobs and struggling
Yeah.
to get their hands on money to buy food. So I can't complain. Yeah, I'll go diving next year. It's not a
Yeah.
big.
It is. It's been interesting. Just it's been interesting. Just there's different people in my network that are. You get the bounce back of the email. This person no longer works there, and you look them up on LinkedIn, and it's because of the COVID stuff. And it's been
Yeah.
just interesting, sort of watching how companies have been handling it. And I was on a call today at RSM, and was very thankful. Our leadership has been super open and straightforward, and like, this is what we're struggling with. These are the different options that we have as we go through it. There's a lot of hope and optimism that when things come back, there's going to be, it's going to come back, and we want to be prepared to do that. And so there's
Right.
a lot of investment around what can we be doing now to prepare for the future, and what can we be doing now to serve our clients. Because a lot of, with the audit and tax side, there's a lot of opportunity there with the money that the federal government's giving out. And
Right.
so it's been nice being a part of that. Just I have no idea half the stuff that's going on, but being able to add that as an additional service. So I've been very fortunate and thankful around that. But yeah, there's a lot of people starting to hit. I think there's 26 million, which is just a crazy number that are unemployed right now.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we were supposed to come down to Florida to see Disney World and stuff like that, and who knows how long that's going to be closed, man.
I don't know. Like the trip in October that the family trip, we were planning on going to Disneyland, and they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about closing it until next year. So
Really?
now we don't know. Yeah. So that was the plan, is to take the kids to Disneyland, because we're 5-6 hours away from Orlando, so they've been there a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, this year let's pull the trigger and let's go to Disneyland. Even though everybody says that it's underwhelming once you've been to the Orlando, once you've been to Disney World, and all the parks are way bigger and everything is huge.
Yeah.
Then you go to Disneyland and it's like, that's it. But anyway, we wanted to take them anyway, and now that they're talking about closing it until next year. Well, I don't know. Like, I want to go to like Yosemite, like that's
Yeah.
what I want to visit over there. But I don't know. With 3 kids, like, once the Wi-Fi goes out, they're not gonna be super happy, right? So
You get a hotspot or something, right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. But I assume the national parks are closed. I haven't even looked to see if they're open or not.
Yeah, I don't know, but I feel that by October, probably the national parks will be open, but perhaps not Disneyland. I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, going to California, if all the beaches are closed and the national parks are closed, like what?
don't know
And
what else.
Disneyland is closed, like what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think they had a task force for Orlando, just to look at that, because I can't imagine just that whole city is based a lot around the theme parks there.
oh my God,
And
yeah,
so-
yeah, devastating, right?
Yeah. And so just but again, it's such a traveled location. So even if you open
Right.
it, like coming in from everywhere, and just, I mean, that's a whole can of worms.
Not just the
Trying to
theme
say that.
parks, but it's a city that depends on tourism. It's like
Yeah.
Venice in Italy. I mean, those guys in Venice must be crushed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so many people that depend on tourism to survive, to do their jobs. And now no tourists are coming. It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then just seeing like the software aspect of it, because I know Microsoft is starting to give away free stuff, whether it's Teams
Yeah.
or helping with the remote work, and so that's been neat to see some of the response to that. The other one I saw is, have you ever heard of folding at home?
No.
So
Folding at home.
yeah, so it's this concept of you need supercomputers in order to be able to fold like protein. And so there's that concept of how do protein molecules, cells? I don't know. Anyways, that concept of understanding what a virus is and understanding how things are linked together, and how the
Okay.
protein itself folds. And so but what you end up doing is you run a bunch of computational calculations to see, is this matched? Does this work? And stuff like that. So like they run them on these big supercomputers. And what I've seen is a lot of people are using like their desktop computers and saying, hey, I got extra GPU and CPU space, just run it on that. And so
Yeah.
people are like offering that up. And so people are like I forget who it is, but anyways, they're sending out the computations and say, okay, run this packet, help us understand it. And so you end up breaking it apart. And so as part of that, I think it's larger than the largest supercomputer right now, everything that's being
Wow.
done at home. And so just
People
that,
running from home. That's cool.
yeah, so that's cool just how that's working.
You should get some of those like Bitcoin farming,
Yeah.
facilities to work on that.
Oh,
Like,
that'd
I've
be awesome,
some
right?
videos. They have like 1,000 servers or whatever,
Yeah.
thousands of computers doing the mining. I still don't understand any of that stuff, by the way. But yeah, it's crazy, and they pay like hundreds of thousands of dollars in electricity bills. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but
Yeah, because
I guess it's working for them.
you have to make a margin on top of that, right?
That's
And
right.
So yeah, I mean, if it's $100,000 for the cost,
Right.
what's your income on something like that? But yeah,
Yeah.
I heard it was good in Iceland. because the electricity there is cheap because it's
Is
based on steam and stuff like that.
hmm.
It's
Nothing in Iceland is cheap. I mean, at least I've been to Iceland once for a week, and everything looked expensive to me.
yeah.
It wasn't as expensive as most people, t- told me about or whatever made it sound. I still think that Helsinki in Finland is the most expensive place I've ever been to, and I've been to the Maldives. So that place is insane. But Iceland, even though it was a little pricey, it was worth it for sure.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
But yeah,
Did you dive
electricity.
there?
I did. I go diving in Iceland. It was one of those things that you have to do because you can put your hands on every continent. The Eurasian and the North American continents
Yeah.
come, super close, so you can actually dive the gap between the two continents, and at some points you can put your hand on both continents. So that was pretty cool. It's like a mandatory dive. If you go to Iceland and you're a diver, you have to do it,
How
right?
long have you been diving? Did you say?
Only about a couple years. I think I got
Okay.
certified in early 2018. Before that, I did dives in like Mexico and stuff because everything is legal in Mexico. I didn't have to be certified. So, I finally in 2018 I decided to get certified, and I got certified mainly because I was going to Iceland,
Hmm.
and I had to be open water certified before I can get my dry suit training, which is what you have to wear in order not to freeze to death
Yeah.
because the water is, I think it was 34 degrees when I dove, 33,
Yeah.
34,
It's right
something
off the
like that,
glacier, man.
which
Yeah.
is about 1 Celsius for those of you living outside the US. So 1 degree Celsius water and the temperature. And it was awesome to be able to wear a suit and not feel anything, even though once you put your face, you feel like you're getting stabbed with 1,000 knives. But the rest of your body, you feel nothing. So that was awesome.
That's cool. I'll have to go back and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, if you've never been to Iceland, highly recommend. Highly recommend it. So we went in September and we drove around the ring road,
Yeah.
and it was just, we you can camp there at the time as well. And so as long as there wasn't a fence and you're not within X kilometers of somebody's house, they
Yeah.
allowed camping. So we like took our camping stuff and we made a whole thing of it. And so
That's
that was
awesome.
really cool.
Yeah, if you really like camping, I mean, I can't think of a better place, a better country. I mean, that country is just unbelievable. It
Yeah.
seems like it's out of space. Like, just driving from the airport into the city,
Yeah.
right? It's just like stuff just coming out of the ground. It's just awesome, right? It's just it's pretty awesome. We had a car too. We didn't do the whole ring thing. We stuck to the Blue Lagoon
Mm-hmm.
and the Black Sand Beach or
Yep.
whatever it's
The
called.
Golden Circle as well, where you get like the geysers and stuff.
Right, right, right. So we did the geysers as well. And for me, like, I knew when I went to Iceland, I wanted to stay at this place, like a super exclusive place called Panorama Glass Lodge.
Okay.
You can look it up. But essentially, and until recently, they only have one pod, but they have like this super tiny house that is all made of glass, except for like the portion where it's like the bathroom is not made of glass. But the whole bedroom itself, like where the bed is, a king size bed, it's made of glass, like the walls, the roof, everything.
That's
So
cool.
you essentially sleep under like the northern lights, and they have like a hot tub right outside. It's pretty awesome. So this thing books for like years in advance. It's like impossible to get, a room there. So before I went there, I sent them an email and I said, look, if any night opens up while I'm there, like I already had a hotel room and everything,
Yeah.
but I said, if any night opens up while I'm there, like I don't care what the price is, like, yeah, I'm in. Like I wanna
That's
I wanna
cool.
stay. And like on Tuesday, we were there. We were like Sunday to Saturday or something like that. We were there
Yeah.
for a week, or Saturday to Sunday, something like that. But like on Tuesday, I get this email and saying it's like, oh, somebody just canceled, so Thursday and Friday night are open.
Oh, dude.
And I'm like, yes. So both. I stayed for 2 nights there. And like I said, until recently, it's a little cabin in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing. You don't see any houses nearby.
Yeah.
There's a lake there, and it's like totally dark at night. So the northern lights are pretty awesome. And that now they have, I think, 2 or 3 pots. So they started growing. I don't know where those are. I assume they're nowhere near because the cool thing about it is that you're in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
right? And the northern lights look amazing because you don't have the lights of the city. to mess it up. And yeah, so that was pretty cool. We really enjoyed staying there. I don't know if I would book, 2 years in advance just to go and stay there because I
Yeah.
want to go to other places in Iceland. There's
Right.
so much to see. So, but yeah, if you're going to Iceland, I would go for more than a week if I can. There's just so much to do.
Yeah. We ended up going for, I think it was 2 weeks. So it was like 14
Yeah.
days, and we spent 3 or 4 of them in Reykjavik just by itself, and then
Yeah,
took a week to go around, and then hit up the Blue Lagoon afterwards. And so that was like the reward for going camping and all that kind of stuff,
for
which was
sure.
good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks is the minimum time. I think I would
Yeah.
advise people to take to go to Iceland. Iceland is such a cool place.
And have you been to some of the other Nordic countries? Because I haven't gone to like Sweden and Norway and.
I've only been to Sweden and to Finland. I
Okay.
still have I still have to go to Norway and what's it called? Denmark.
Okay.
So those two I haven't been to, even though I've been, so close because they're all next to each other, especially when you go to Sweden. I mean, they're right next to Norway and Denmark. So
Yeah.
I haven't been able to go to those. I do want to go, especially like you see these videos and pictures of like the cliffs and stuff in Norway. Like that stuff
Yes.
looks awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
The coast of just sort of even like the Scotland and Ireland and stuff like that. Some of those coasts are just incredible.
yeah,
What are the basalt? Is it basalt? Just like the octagon looking things.
yeah,
That are just, yeah. That's just I don't. Yeah, that's crazy.
that is awesome. Yeah, I love it. I went to the Scottish Summit in February,
Oh yeah.
February 29th. That was pretty awesome. I was one of the speakers. They had like 100 speakers. I don't know how many. I mean, there were so many of us, like 1,000 people or more than 1,000 people showed up. It was a big
That's
event.
crazy.
Yeah, it was a really big event, and the event was on Saturday. So we flew in. I took my wife. We flew in and landed on Thursday, and like early. So Thursday we did Glasgow because that's where the event was gonna be.
Yeah.
Then Friday we went to um, what's it called? There's Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So and Edinburgh was pretty awesome. It's
It's a
just
cool
such a
place.
different city. Um, and so I loved Scotland,
Yeah.
and that was pretty awesome. I still need to go to Ireland. I've been to Northern Ireland, but I haven't been to Ireland
Yeah.
and Wales.
Proper.
Just to wrap up the
The
whole
UK.
UK, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah,
That's cool. So I was bummed. I wasn't able to go to the summit there in the in Scotland.
yeah.
Who's putting that on? Is that Huntingford
It's
or no? It's
no, no,
Chris
no.
or
It's
Mark.
two guys. Yeah, Mark and Ian
Ian. I don't
Connolly
know if I
and
know
Mark
Ian.
Christie
Okay.
are the two main guys that put it together. I'm sure that they work with other people to
Yeah.
put everything together. But man, they did such a good job, and the sessions were pretty awesome. I only deliver one session, I think, this year, and then I would, stick around and answer questions and stuff like that. But there were so many MVPs there, and so many speakers and experts that it was pretty awesome. And then the after party was also great, right?
Yeah.
You,
Just seeing
you
everybody.
have all the people there, and I think, I don't remember who he was, but I think one of the biggest customers is there's a casino there in Glasgow
Huh.
by the location where the event was, and I
Yeah.
think I guess they use Dynamics or something. So we got this like private room and stuff, and it was pretty awesome for the speakers. And again, the whole room is just full. It's hundreds,
Yeah.
Typically when you go to a Saturday event, there's like, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 speakers maybe, and then
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
a sudden
Maybe
show
three
up, there's over
tracks.
100. It's like, whoa. Yeah, it was
So is that the
it was great.
biggest? I mean, I guess the Dynamics community stuff was still bigger, but like that's probably the biggest one I've heard of outside of like a dedicated organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think outside of the Microsoft Business Application Summit and the UG Summit,
Yeah.
that would be the third biggest. And it's even bigger than some of the UG summits. Like I think the summit in Australia, which I got to go last year, it was pretty cool. It's the first time they did it, and they had people in the hundreds,
Hmm.
which is great because I went to the summit in the US in 2012, I think it was their third year or something, and there were 300 people there. And now in Australia, it's their first summit, and they had like six or 700. But
Wow.
that's still smaller than the Scottish summit, right? The Scottish
Yeah.
summit is over 1,000 people, and it's interesting. Like I love talking to Ian Mark about this because a lot of people tell me it's like who the hell is gonna come to Glasgow to go to an event. Like, no, like do it in London, do it somewhere. And
Yeah.
these guys stuck to their guns, and good for them. I mean, it was a great event. Hopefully I get to go next year as well.
It's become like the go-to thing, I feel like. I mean, like,
For sure.
um but the other thing you have to remember about is like you mentioned, like everything's so close there. And so we're in Australia, like it's a continent. And so just like 700 people there, I don't know. Like I feel like you're going to pull from what, three or four cities maybe. Um
Yeah. It's funny. Like I went to an event in Bali once. It was a Microsoft event. It was I think it was called the Asian Partner Conference or something like that. And there was a class there, and they asked me if I wanted to go deliver the class. It's the only year that I've missed the MVP summit. The only time that I've missed it is because I was there teaching this class because I never want to miss the MVP summit.
right.
And I think that they ran out of MVPs out in Asia, right? They all wanted to come to the summit.
Yeah.
So they finally got down to me on the list, whatever that was. And they
Number
asked me, and I was like,
3000. I guess
yeah,
it's
I'll go to
Gus.
yeah, I'll go to Bali. So I went to Bali to this event, and it's the same thing. Like those events in Asia, like they're very dependent on where you host them. Like I think
Hmm.
Bali was good because you get people that want to come from Singapore and Japan and all of these other countries because
Yeah.
Bali's kind of centric in Asia, right? But when you do it in Australia, and I think that's why they didn't call it the Asia Summit, they call it the Australia Summit, is because they knew that Australia is so far apart from the rest of Asia that you're not going to get people from, Malaysia
Right.
going to Australia. I mean, they had people there from all over the world, even I guess your colleague or former colleague, Rachel Prophet,
Yeah, Rachel.
went there. Yeah, which was funny because the two of us thought up until that point that we were the only person that attended all three summits, like the U.S., the Europe, and the Australia one. So when
Yeah.
I saw it, I'm like, "Oh, what are you doing here?
That's
You're
crazy.
messing up with my
I
vibe."
was supposed to be the
Uh,
one.
yeah, I'm supposed to be the only one. So the two of us were there, and we both did all three summits last year.
That's crazy. It's like
And
a grand slam or something like
yeah,
that. I feel like yeah.
yeah, I don't know if it's like the Grand Slam or whatever of it, but it was just like I don't know. I get lucky sometimes with some of these events. The Australia one, I just happened to go to the Saturday events in New Zealand, and they were like the Saturday before and after the summit. So I pay out of my own pocket to go to the Australia
Yeah.
event, but I was already in New Zealand, so it was only like $300 round trip, and
Oh,
to
nice.
attend summit for $300, I think
Yeah,
is pretty
for
awesome,
sure you
right?
need to do
So.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's not like, and I think now that you're an MVP, you'll get to see it. I think it's a misunderstanding or whatever that people believe that we get paid to go to these events. Like
I
yeah, just
wish,
come
yeah.
here. We'll pay all your expenses. We'll actually give you even more money on top of it just so you show up.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't happen at all.
No.
So it's because I'm a speaker on a lot of these events. I get the speaker comp. Essentially, I get to attend the event for free, but I
Yeah.
still have to get there. I still have to pay for hotel. I still have to pay for food and beers.
Yeah.
Right.
One of those is more expensive than the rest, but yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway.
But no, it's good. It'll be interesting. It was interesting attending the MVP summit because it was virtual this year. And so I was able to essentially hold my child and watch the event at the same time.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of cool. So being able to attend some of that. But
Yeah,
it's
it's always the first one is always interesting, right? Because they're telling you all this stuff they're either working on or they're gonna be working on in the future. And what do you think? And
yeah.
it's up to us essentially to give them feedback. And I think that a lot of people behind the scenes don't understand that, right?
Hmm.
And I talked about this on the podcast. Is people get to compare themselves to MVPs, and they're sort of like, I do more work than that guy, or I do more work than that lady
Yeah.
who's also an MVP. But what you don't see is everything that happens behind the scenes. Now you get to see it.
Hey, I feel bad for MVPs. Like,
I don't feel bad for MVPs. I think it's awesome, but
well, no, it is, but
it
like,
is a mistake that people make on comparing yourself with.
it's overwhelming, the information that comes at you because my calendar as soon as, even before I got back into work, my calendar was essentially full because the product team is looking for that much feedback. And so you look at your calendar and it's like, well, I could look at this one or I could look at this one, but you have like potentially multiple ones a day, which
Exactly.
is just, it's so cool that they're looking for that kind of feedback. And it's something you
Yeah.
don't see on the other side of it. But I'll make a plug for the Seattle chapter, the user group. A lot of the stuff, not a lot of the stuff, one or two of the things that I saw at the MVP summit, we had seen as part of an NDA session from the product team that had come and delivered something. And so,
Yeah, and those do
yeah,
happen, right? And I always tell people like when the summit is happening or whatever, I'm
yeah,
like, look, just look for those conduit sessions or NDA sessions. Like they will give you a taste of what the MVP summit is like.
right.
They'll show you stuff they're working on and they'll ask for your feedback and there's discussion back and forward. I
Yeah.
think that maybe the difference with the MVP summit is that we're a little bit more outspoken, right? I feel that in some
What
of those sessions
MVPs are outspoken?
because I've been to those conduit sessions and people are sort of like afraid to criticize or not and I've been in sessions before during the MVP summit. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
rude, it's just sort of like why are you guys prioritizing this instead
Yeah.
of that? Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And we don't mind having that conversation, and Microsoft doesn't mind it either. They want to hear that.
Yeah.
They want
So
us to bring that up.
I think the first time that you kind of like stuck out in my mind that I had met you or like probably met you in person was we were in Nashville and I think Daniel does the sales stuff. But he was doing a session on something sales when we were in Nashville 2 years ago,
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah.
And you were just like you said, like he was looking for feedback and you gave him feedback. And I think you were the only one in the room that spoke up. Everybody else is like, "Oh, this is amazing." And you're like, "Well, actually, this is not how."
Could be better though.
Yeah, it could be
It's
better.
awesome, but we can make it better.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an interesting situation that we get to be on, and sometimes they do. I mean, you're part of the MVP family now, so you see people reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm working on this. Who wants to give feedback on that?" And
right.
sometimes stuff comes in that I'm like, I'm not interested at all. Well, it's not that I'm not in. Like I want to see the final
Yeah,
product, but I don't think would be able to provide feedback on, right?
yeah.
If they come up with some development oriented, like
There's some,
subject, I'm
yeah,
like, okay, I want to see what it looks like when you're done, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to provide any constructive criticism
yeah.
about this,
There's
right?
email come out, and I'm like, that's definitely
Yeah,
like a Daryl Labar thing in
yeah,
AWS.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah,
I am interested on seeing the final product, but I don't think I can help.
yeah,
And then there are some other ones that come in, and I'm like, oh yes, like I definitely put
yeah,
me in, coach,
yeah.
because I really have a lot to say about that. And so anyway,
Something
it's
about
pretty awesome.
configuration. I mean, yeah, I could learn that.
Functional stuff,
Yeah,
solution architecture, I'm in for
yeah.
sure.
Oh, that's good. How's the podcast? Man, I don't ride the bus anymore because because we're working from home now. So like some of this, just trying to find that flow again. Where like when do you
Yeah.
listen to a podcast when you have kids running around now?
I
But yeah,
know. I know. For me too, like I listen to it mainly when I'm driving, and we're not going anywhere. And
right.
I work from home, but I do like to go out once in a while and do stuff.
Oh,
And
you occasionally see the sun. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And yeah, I have all these podcasts like accumulated essentially, and I haven't listened to them. But the podcast is going well. I noticed a dip in downloads and listeners, of course, because of the coronavirus, but the feedback keeps coming in. The last episode is connected to the next episode. It's a two-part thing, and the
yeah.
main reason for that is I started talking about this topic. I thought I could cover it in an hour, and it took me more than 3 hours. So
Yeah,
I had to.
looking at it now, it's an hour. It's an hour 45 or an hour 40, man.
Yeah, that's when I found like a stopping point, and so I caught it, and then we're doing episode 2 or part 2, I guess, the next time. But I think I just listening back to it, pieces of it and whatnot. I think this might be my favorite of all the episodes that I've done. I feel like I can listen to this in a couple years and still be like, oh yeah, that's pretty awesome. And the main reason for that is it was a book review, and I'm reviewing a
Oh,
book I
okay.
read I read years ago that had really helped me tremendously as a solution architect. And I'm using like what the book is talking about because it's a book about business. It's not really about dynamics, and I'm using that as examples in the dynamics. So I'm saying like what they're talking about here. Imagine if this is the equivalent of that in dynamics, and kind of making those connections. And yeah, there's a lot of really, really good stuff on that book.
Okay.
I think I've read it 3 or 4 times in the past. I read it years and years ago, and then I reread it to record the episode, just to highlight stuff
Yeah.
that I wanted to cover. And man, it's just so much good stuff. So it's kind of
Hmm.
a must listen if you're a solution architect, I think. And if you listen to part one and you're not getting any value, then don't listen to the next one, because it's just a continuation. But I think that if you listen to it, you'll be like, man, this is gold. If you're a functional consultant, like wanted to move into solution architect,
Yeah.
or a solution architect, man, just listen to it.
Because I saw
It's
that, who was it, Patty out of the UK? I saw
yes,
some interaction there. And so he was
yeah.
talking about that.
Patty mentioned, he brought up a good example from the book, which is, they're talking about the glass is half full or half empty.
Yeah.
And there's something on the book about, as a solution architect, you need to look at all of the angles, right? So
Hmm.
when people say, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty, a solution architect should say it's both. It's half full and half empty.
Yeah.
And then explore both sides. And anyway, it goes into that. And it's not, like I said, it's not about solution architecture. They call it business think. So they're talking about someone who thinks like that
Okay.
should think about it's both, and both things are valid. And I talk about how to transform soft evidence into hard evidence. So when people say
Hmm.
like, our customer satisfaction is awful, okay, well, that you can't do anything with that. So
Yeah.
it talks about how do you question people to get hard evidence, like why are you saying that? And once you get the hard evidence, now you have something you can track in terms of dynamics, for example, that you can improve over time. It's awesome. Again, it's one of my favorite episodes. Problem is, you read the name, is like hardcore business thinking. It's like, this is boring, but I don't know. I liked it. But yeah, I'm a functional solution architect guy, so
Yeah.
I would
No.
say a developer wouldn't be as excited, maybe. I don't know.
Do you ever get feedback from somebody that is a developer or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, dude, I listened to all 2 hours of that. It was not worth my time."
No, I haven't gotten any feedback like that. I do get feedback about, future episodes and topics to discuss and stuff like that. I am surprised sometimes. I one of the things that I like to do is I like to let other MVPs host their
Yeah.
shows. As long as we follow some simple rules, like I don't want any of the topics to be quickly obsolete. So I don't want anyone talking about like, let me tell you about this new feature that came out today. Like I don't want that. And that's why you don't see those episodes in our show.
Yeah.
I think the CRM audio guys do a really good job covering the latest and greatest, the news and whatnot.
Yeah. They do a
They
good
do a
job.
good job with that. There's no need for two shows doing the same.
Yeah.
Um, so as long as you can record something that somebody can listen to it a year from now or 2 years from now and still get value from it, you're welcome to host. And that's why we've had Daryl Labar host the show, Neil Benson hosted a show.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Megan hosted a
Megan
show
did.
as
Yeah.
well. We've had, Antti hosted a show, even though he had Kyle as a guest. He was the host of it. He was talking about Azure and what solution architects should know from the Azure side.
Huh.
And it was a
I think I
great,
missed that
great
one.
episode. So sometimes I'll see, a topic and I'm not super excited. Like I wouldn't listen to that episode if it
Right.
was me. However, when I see the download numbers, I'm like, this is a really, really popular topic. Yeah. Like,
Okay.
I think that the people that are listening to the show are so varied that we can put anything out there, like a super development oriented episode or a non-development oriented episode, like
Yeah.
the last one, and you're still gonna get, a bunch of people, hundreds and hundreds of people that will tune in and get value from it. It's all
Nice.
about value. Like I'm not,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't expect the feedback to come in every time and be like, oh my God, that was the best thing ever. No, it's all about, for me, what I want to hear is, I was listening to this thing. I disagree with you on these things. I agree with you on those things. I didn't know these things. That's good to know. I learned something new. Like Patty's, feedback. He was like, that example about the glass half full, half empty, that was really good.
Right.
I like that. I like that feedback because it shows me what people are after,
Yeah. What's
that are looking
connecting with
for.
them?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, good. We got Mandar, who
Hmm.
helps with the stuff here in Seattle, whether it's CE or whether it's Power Apps and stuff like that. And so, yeah, so Mandar, I appreciate you joining us for the After Hours event. So,
Yeah, good
um,
job. I'm not sure where you are, but thanks for joining because I mean, nobody in Europe is joining at 6 in the morning, right? We're not that cool to get people to join.
yeah,
But yeah, hopefully we get some people.
yeah, we need to
Uh,
market this again more to Australia and just sort of that direction of,
yeah,
yeah, or they can like wake up, have coffee with us or something like that. I'm not going to drink coffee at 8:30. You should not drink coffee. I know it's later there.
sure.
Um, but no, it's been again, it's been an interesting just sort of journey and ride as I look back at my MVP sort of journey and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
um, it's been fun every step of the way when you look back at sort of what it looked like speaking at the first like local user group and just remembering that and what that looked like, and then being involved as a chapter leader, and then the opportunities to speak at a national conference was just incredible. I like and do that multiple times is crazy.
Hmm.
And then getting into live streaming and stuff like that, just because I enjoy hanging out with people, and just talking about sort of life and what's going on and just being real, about stuff. So it's been cool there, and just, it's, it's like trying to jump on a carousel after you've been around away for a while. So, the first quarter of the year has just been, focused on sort of the house and the new kid coming and all that kind of stuff. Now it's getting back into work, and what does that look like? Um, and
How
so
how frustrating was the whole MVP process for you? Because it can be frustrating for some people. So I don't know
I don't,
if it ever.
yeah, I think it was hard. So, cause
The frustration, by the way, let me just add this: the frustration typically comes from two areas. Number one, when you feel or you believe that you deserve it and
yeah,
you're not getting it, right?
yeah.
Because it's every month, essentially, the first of every month, new
Oh
MVPs
yeah.
are awarded. So if you're on Twitter and you're following that MVP buzz, whatever hashtag,
Yeah.
you start seeing the people like, oh my God, I just got my MVP award. And you're like, ah, why
Uh,
am I not getting that? Right. So that can be
congrats.
frustrating. And the second part of it is the murkiness of the process. Right, there's not a whole lot of communication. It's sort of
No.
like somebody submits your name, you essentially kind of like show all the things that you've done in the
Yeah.
year from a community
That takes a long
perspective,
time.
and then you kind of don't hear anything until you get the award.
Yeah.
That's the way it's been forever, by the way, since I got my award in 2012. The main difference is when I had to do it, I had to fill up, I think it was a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet. I don't remember. Now there's like a cool, system, like a
It's an
Power
Excel.
App,
It's a fancy Excel file.
Power Portal or something. Now we have the cool technology behind it. But
Yeah.
other than that, the process is the exact same, right?
Yeah. So I think two parts were frustrating for me. One was when I first, when people asked you, why aren't you an MVP? Are you not an MVP already? I thought you were. And
I
so
thought,
whether
yeah,
that's people that are MVPs or that aren't MVPs, and you're like, well,
yeah,
I thank you that you think I have that brand out there.
that's right.
So that was a little, it wasn't frustrating. It was encouraging, but at the same time, then trying to figure out, because I never asked anybody to nominate me for being an MVP and stuff like that. But finally somebody did. And so was very thankful for that person. I don't know if it's weird to tell who it was, but yeah. Um, and so then you go through that process, and it took me a week to figure out all the different stuff I had done, whether it's blogs or whether it's a speaking event that I did down in Portland that was just like for half a day or like one session, and just trying to think of like everything you've done for the community and articles you've written on LinkedIn or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that took some time. So if you're an aspiring MVP, make sure that you're documenting sort of what you're doing. And as Gus mentioned earlier, don't use it to compare yourself against anybody. Use it to prep it when that time comes. Because it probably took me 8 hours like to go back through stuff, and they ask you like views and like what's the link to that and all that kind of stuff. So it was all that. So that took some time. But yeah, you're right. So the first day of every month, you just kind of like, you want to wake up.
Hoping.
Yeah. You wake up and you usually look at your phone, but you look at your phone, and then Like you look at your email, no email, and then you look at Twitter. Well, nobody's posted anything yet. Maybe they haven't sent the email.
That's right.
And then so that went on for about 3 months, and because I got nominated in October, November, and so you're supposed to be a 90-day, and they're starting to do these check-ins where if you've been nominated, they will just they have a call to answer any questions that you may have, and so that's gotten better.
Yeah.
From what I've heard. But,
Yeah, we didn't have those back in the day. But yeah, it's an interesting process for sure. And I think, like you mentioned, don't compare what you're doing with what other MVPs might be doing, because there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that no one has any idea about.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this, on the episode I talked about this, where I said, misconceptions about MVPs, I think is the title of it.
Yeah.
I said, I was guilty of that. Like I would see MVPs and I'm like, what do you do? And then when I became an MVP, I would see everything they do behind the scenes and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm not even close to doing, what this guy or this lady's doing. Right.
Yeah.
So I never want to compare to it. And at the same time, I think that, if you are comparing, I think you're going through the wrong path. And I mentioned this before, which was when I meet people that want to be MVPs, I try to talk them out of it. Like I mentioned to you before, right? I try to tell them it's like, I mean, it's a lot of work. Like, I don't know if you really want to go through that. I mean, it's just a lot, because for me, like when I got my MVP award, like there wasn't any talking me out of not contributing to the community or doing what I was doing.
It's
like no one was going to talk me out of it. It's just what I do. Right. So if someone can convince you to stop contributing, then that's probably not the right mindset to have.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that being an MVP is not worth it or anything like that. No, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
But I think being an MVP for the wrong reasons is not worth it. I think that if you're just forcing yourself to contribute to the community just so you can get that award, I think that's the wrong way of doing it. So if I can talk you out of contributing, because, I make it sound like the MVP award is not worth it, then I don't think it was, that you were meant to be an MVP in the first place. Like, I don't think anyone could talk you out of doing these videos and writing your blogs. Like, you just do it because you enjoy it. Same way I do it. You know?
It was easier and I had more time. I think I started this before either of the kids. And so now I have 2 kids. And it's harder to find that little bit of time that you need to do this. And it's, again, I agree with you. It's not something that, it doesn't matter how many boxes you check and how many things you do. I think there's more to being an MVP than just sort of the number and the quantity that you've contributed, right? And so I know you've talked about this before. What's the quality? I think it's Yuka. I can never say the guy's name right. His stuff is known to be like the gold standard when it comes out, but often it doesn't come out for months at a time. He is doing, I've seen all the stuff he does on the back end as well, but at the same time, it's that stuff that, like, that quality is like, people refer to it as like, that's the Bible. I mean, like, that's like, and so just,
it's amazing, right? That's what you want to do. You don't want to just, release a bunch of stuff out there just to say that, oh, look at all the volume of activities that I have. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Like for those of us who are in the industry, we know what's quality and what's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. So,
but no, it's been cool. It's been fun. I don't know if you can hear the newest one in the background right now, or if the mic's cutting that out, that she's trying to go down to bed. But yeah, so I'm excited about it. It's something that, again, you don't want to be that one-hit wonder and be an MVP for 1 year. But it was interesting on your podcast with Joel and I think it was Daryl and stuff like that. You talk about sort of what your frustrations are as MVPs, and one of them was just the guy that does it once and never hear from him again. And I don't know if Joel was calling me out on that one. Kind of felt that way, but I was like, I got life happening, man. So, but we'll get back into the swing of the things and get some content.
No, but and we were talking about that because life happens. Like we know that. But there was an MVP who got into a really bad car accident, for example. And he went through that. Like I think everyone gets it. If you are unable to continue because of something that happened in your life, like having kids, moving, stuff like that, I get that. But the one that we meant to essentially mention on the episode was those who literally get the MVP award and they quit, right?
Yeah.
In martial arts, in jiu-jitsu specifically, which is what I did,
Yeah.
we that also exists with people when they get their blue belt. It happened to me, although I was a blue belt for like 3 or 4 years. I never continued to become a purple belt and brown and black, right? I got my blue belt, I think a year and something, or I don't know if it was 2 years. It was between a year and 2 years after I started, and I trained jiu-jitsu for 5 years total. So um, I was there,
Yeah.
working on, training and training and training, but I didn't continue. And I think the same thing happens with becoming an MVP. I think that the people that someone like me is able to talk out of it, once they get the award, they are sort of like,
I
it's
hit it.
like,
Yeah.
this is
What
what I
else is there?
wanted.
Yeah.
I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. I feel that if you got the award because you enjoy what you're doing, you should get it for 100 years, right? If you're Because you're
Yeah.
you're gonna continue to do what you were doing regardless, right? Nothing
Yeah.
changes. The only thing that changes is you'll have more visibility, more opportunities to speak. But
Yeah.
other than that, you're still gonna enjoy it the same way you used to enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think one of the things is, I think you did I forget who I heard. It was either you or Joel, or I forget who it was, but there's a misconception that you have to speak at a bunch of events in order to get your MVP award and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's not the case. And so you may get more opportunities and, like you said, more visibility because of the recognition that's been given to you. But at the same time, it's not something that has to be done. And I've seen people that don't speak at events get the award as well, because of how they're contributing, whether it's a local community or whether it's they're doing some blogs and stuff like that. Like, you do have to be known in the
Creating
community.
tools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
creating tools. There's some amazing tools that I have no idea who the person is that created it, but I use the tool every day, and like, they definitely should get the MVP.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of stuff where, like, you don't feel like you have to, like, Gus and I have very similar personalities, I feel like, in a lot of ways, and like what we enjoy doing. But there's a lot of people that receive the award and they have other ways that they help the community. So be encouraged by that. So
Absolutely.
cool, dude. Well, I think I'm gonna go help with the little one, and I know it's pretty late there, so we'll wrap it for now if that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to connect back. Hopefully we get to do this more often. We're all at home anyway, so let's figure out a time that works.
Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We'll back on
Exactly.
it. Cool.
Absolutely. All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
man. Awesome. See you later.